Hello and welcome back to this podcast. Police Files. File 1. Characters: Abdul Qadir, father, uh, landlord, engineer, entrepreneur. Rida, son, married with children. His wife is Suad. The mother, Fatima. Uh, Rida's girlfriend, Kauthar. Events: Abdul Qadir and Fatima divorce after unhappy and unstable life, and a good after happy and stable life, and a good marital life. Fatima had no job, no profession, nor did she have any career of any sort. Some misunderstandings turned out or appeared and turned into huge disputes because of the nature of Abdul Qadir, who loved to leave it his way, his loosely way, staying late at night, befriending people like him, people who like to drink and smoke hashish and stay late and letting family worry about them. Fatima started to have an uneasy life with him. All ended in divorce, even though they had two children mentioned above, Rida and Amal. Amal is the daughter and Rida is the son. Abdul Qadir became alone and lives in his villa as he pleased. He had fun with friends he would invite home from time to time. His business life got better and better as he amassed huge sums of money and became richer. On the opposite, Fatima had to take care of the children. She had to supply for their food, clothing, and schooling. Their father stepped back from their lives completely and never thought about them or cared for them. He would seldom come to see them and give them some money, just enough for 2 or 3 days. They found themselves in a situation far less comfortable as they had than they had used to be in when mother and father were in good terms. This hard life of theirs reflected itself in their schooling. They failed in exams and repeated classes as there was a lack of guidance and advice due to the permanent absence of father. When they became grown-ups, Amal got married and Abdul Qadir relied upon his and Rida relied upon his dad, whom he would pay a visit to every now and then. The first time he went to see his father at his villa, he had a dispute with the villa's guard. If his dad hadn't been there, things would have turned out badly. That event made his father think of a way to let Rida, his son, stay away from him. Therefore, he bought him a taxi and helped him to make a home and a family. He paid for his marriage and he paid for everything. At the beginning, things went well for Rida and his family. The money he got from the taxi was largely enough to keep them alive, and even more. But after a year, they had a son and a daughter. The following year, they then then he was able to make what he was able to make of money did not suffice anymore, and it became difficult to make the two ends meet. As a taxi driver, he worked by night, and for a taxi driver working by night, even if the bill is higher, customers are fewer. He had to find passengers or taxi seekers near bars, casinos, and nightclubs and cabarets. A young girl named Kauthar worked as a belly dancer for cabaret for cabarets. Got to know Rida, who would always take her back home after work finished at dawn, 4 a.m. Day in, day out, some intimacy installed between the two people, between Rida and Kautar. Okay, the intimacy began to build up between the two. She became the best passenger of his taxi. From time to time, she would invite him to have breakfast with her when he gets her home. Their intimacy became stronger and stronger. When Kautar's mother is absent, they would spend the morning together at her house. He didn't find it difficult to fool his poor wife, uh, Fat- mm, Fatiha or Saida, Suad. Let's say Fatiha. as he had to drive her home from work to up to 10 for up to 10 kilometers every day. They had enough time to ask each other about some aspects of their lives: job, family, life, expectations, motivations, till they accumulated quite enough information about each other. Rida kept in his mind the huge sums of money Kauthar would get as her part per day, up to 4,000 dirhams each night, which make 4 millions, or 40,000 dirhams a month. Just for Billy, or more, for 4,000 dirhams, it makes 12 millions, 12 Moroccan millions, just for Billy dancing and Oriental dance. He thought to himself, oh, that's a savor's salary for no effort. He then requested Kauthar to show him or even teach him every detail about her job as a dancer. At first she thought he was kidding, but when he insisted and showed great enthusiasm for that, she showed him through enough lessons and rehearsals how to dance and all that he needs to seduce his audience, and let them throw banknotes on him like the falling of three leaves during a storm. The thought She taught him everything about the job: the dressing up, the makeup, the required haircut suitable for men of color, rainbow men, as they say, rainbow men. His wife, Rida's, sniffed him like a she dog, but every time he calmed her curiosity, saying that he had affairs at work with some high-class people. One day his father had his car broken. He told him to come and take it to the mechanic, and told him to be available all the time the car was under repair. So he had to carry Kauthar home, and the home of his father is midway on Kauthar's way home. And his dad, Abdul Qadir, to work after that day, his engineering office. One day Kauthar was too late, that he had taken both his dad and her, everyone, to his destination. So he did at first drop his father midway to Kauthar's destination. Who leaves midway to Kauthar's destination? Okay. He had at first, okay, but on the way Kauthar stopped him to run some errands. At the shop on the way, when she came and get back onto the taxi, she sat at the back seat next to Abdul Qadir. She changed her initial place. Rida wondered about that for a short time, then he thought she was confused. When the taxi moved on, Kauthar slipped a small smashed piece of paper into Abdul Qadir's hand. When he glanced secretively at it, he understood that she gave him her phone number. He smiled at her as a sign of agreement. Rida dropped his father at work and carried on to get Kauthar's home. She didn't say anything about his father at all, as Rida had already spoken about every detail about the life of his dad and the social status he had, and huge sums of money and lots of houses and villas. He's such a landlord. His father, he is such a landlord. After about 30 minutes, let's say around 6 a.m., Abdul Qadir called Kauthar, as he is a woman lover, inviting her for breakfast in a big and nice cafe. But she put off his offer to late in the evening that day, as she was very exhausted and needed much sleep. On the first phone contact, she admitted that she thought he would never call her, but she expressed her joy to him. In the evening, the first meeting between Kauthar and Abdul Qadir took place. Abdul Qadir showed cavalry and courtesy and kindness to her, and much kindness to her. At the end of their first outing together, Abdul Qadir invited her home, as she pleased him greatly. She was just the kind of girl he wanted to know and to befriend. Okay, then I said that Abdul Qadir was really attracted by Kautar. But when he insisted too much, she burst into tears and said that he had mistaken her for those bad girls he might have in mind. And she made it clear to him not to try that again without thinking of marriage. Abdul Qadir really was attached to her, as she was exactly the kind of girl he would go for. Then they put their agreement of marriage into practice. Now Kauthar and Abdul Qadir are husband and wife. Rida kept doing the belly dancing just the way he had been taught by Kauthar. He was getting better and better and was collecting huge sums of money, and life became very wonderful with him as regards money. He noticed the continuous absence of Kauthar from the cabaret, but he found himself excuses, but never thought that his dad had taken her for his wife for weeks now. At home, Kauthar wanted Abdul Qadir to change the furniture and kitchen utensils as proof for his happiness with her. The age gap between the two is quite big, 42 years of difference. Abdul Qadir being 73 and Kauthar 28 of age. She asked him to start by a TV set. She would like a big one. Abdul Qadir rang Rida up and asked him to bring a TV set he had bought at Kautar's choice from a shop. And when Rida took it to his father's villa, he had to carry it himself, as it was early in the morning and no men were seen or heard there. At his bad surprise, it was Kautar who opened the door for him. When he had fixed the TV set, he had a big dispute with her, expressing his anger, or even his rage, let's say his rage, and at the fact that she had taken his dad as a spouse. He tried to make her step back from that bad decision of hers, but in vain. Kauthar was so obstinate and hard-headed and even rude to him, and that she would never leave his father. Rida confessed to his sister Latifa the story of her dad, to his sister Amal, the story of her dad with Kauthar, and Amal got deeply shocked and more angry about that than Rida, and angrier about that than Rida. Rida and Amal put back the film and rewinded the tape. They remembered that their father wouldn't be of any use to Kauthar, as he wasn't able to beget or to give birth to other children, as he had gone through 3 marriages after divorcing their mom. They thought that Abdul Qadir, their father, sooner or later would get rid of Kauthar as soon as he had enough of her. But things got really worse when Amal one day let Rida know that when Kauthar one day let Rida know that she and her husband would become parents as she was pregnant from him. But Rida didn't believe what he had heard from Kauthar, until she sent him by smartphone the latest medical checkup documents showing and testifying her as a pregnant woman with a male fetus in her uterus. Rida and Latifa and Amal, his sister, thought about many scenarios, thinking that they were the only heirs of the wealth of their father, and thinking about the mischievous personality of Kauthar, who might set a trap to their dad and make them far from having their part of the cake. The situation escalated and became worse when Rida started to blackmail Kauthar. This latter never gave him a sign of possible surrender. On the contrary, she kept irritating him by her venomous answers. His sister Amal always followed the situation from home. She had long conversations with Rida, think of the best and most effective solutions. One day Rida went to his father's villa at a time when everybody were taken by their everyday repetitive tasks. that Rida knew by heart and even was sure about the amount of time allocated for each task. He was able to slither into the villa without being noticed by anyone. He opened the back door without letting out any noise or sound. When he came near Kauthar, she was surprised but didn't do anything. She stayed calm, but she never thought that was her last day in life. Rida held her throat tight with both hands and never get them off until he was sure she had died. Then he carried her corpse and threw it down. At the same time, he left as fast as he could. The falling of Kauthar's corpse was heard by all the people who were working in the place. Bushaib, the villa's guard, and Malika, the maid, rushed to the place which was the source of the noise, and they saw Kauthar laying motionless on the floor of ground zero. They called both the police and the rescue brigade. The police asked any questions that might help, and that people there told them they had seen no one inside the villa. At the morgue, Kauthar's corpse underwent an autopsy, and the legal doctor's report was shocking and made the police deepen their investigations. The autopsy report attested death had taken place before the falling of the corpse, and it was due to asphyxiation, as they found that her breathing arteries exploded because of the blocking of air and oxygen by an external force. They wondered who would benefit from that killing. At first they thought of Abdul Qadir, the husband, but he had strong alibi, as he was held in a meeting at his office all morning long the day of the assassination. They asked everybody they could. They checked up Kauthar's cell phone, and they found the phone number calling her repeatedly, and it was from it that the ultimate call to her was. They soon discovered it was Rida's. When they investigated the case, they finally gave in and confessed his crime. He was sentenced to perpetuity, and here the story ended. Well, the ending is bad, as they say. Okay, I hope that you liked it. This is the first. I translated from a police file which was reported in Arabic. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you in the following days or weeks. Bye for now.